This next story is almost a case study in how a local headline can grab national attention and then become fodder in a feud between the right and the left. Now, some quick background. About 2 weeks ago, Walmart announced it was going to close 2 stores in Portland. They're near Delta Park and the Eastport Plaza. Walmart still has about 45 other stores in Oregon. About a dozen of those are in the greater Portland area, but they are outside the city limits. So let's start with the headlines. Our headline back then on KGW.com focused on those specific locations. We later updated the headline to show that 580 workers would be impacted, meaning they will lose their jobs. Oregon Public Broadcasting put out a similar headline, 2 Portland Walmarts to close. But Fox 12 Oregon put out a headline that stated all Portland Walmart stores to permanently close. Now, that headline is absolutely and technically accurate. But do you see how different it is from those other 2?
And in case you didn't know, headlines often start with small developments like 2 stores closing. It's sort of like the little fish in the ocean. It's happy by itself, but there's always a bigger fish that's hungry. It's the same thing in the news business. Bigger operations are always looking for news stories. And just like the little fish that gets eaten by the bigger fish, even that fish can get eaten by a still bigger fish. And small stories that start local can end up national or even international the same way.
That last fish was kind of spooky. So, if you're looking from a national perspective to grab a headline that confirms a narrative, well, that local Fox headline, darn right perfect. And that's exactly what we saw happen. A week after the first reports, Yahoo, the national Fox Business News, and the National Review all came out with headlines about the Portland Walmarts. Yahoo reported Walmart set to close all stores in Portland amid record-breaking retail theft. The Fox headline reads, Walmart to shutter Portland locations just months after CEO's warning on crime. And the National Review stated, Walmart set to close all stores in Portland amid record-breaking retail theft. Very similar to the first one there. Now listen, during an interview with NBC about a month earlier, the CEO had mentioned crime as an issue that was costing Walmart money nationally. But he did not mention Portland. And when the announcement of the store closings were made, a local Walmart spokesperson said there were many factors involved. They did not say what those factors were, but it did not matter. 2 days later, other national outlets were out running with the story. From the New York Post to the Daily Mail, and more recently, it's bounced around to big city websites. Here's the headline in Cleveland, and here it is at Cairo in Seattle just 2 days ago. All right, now let's bring in KGW's digital director, Celeste Ruiz, to talk about how these headlines can become a story of their own. How do these things take off and why?
Well, the reach of a story is really just huge now. When we're publishing a story, it can be picked up by national outlets everywhere. We have our company too, and so their stations can pull that as well. And then from there, that can go to national publications. They can publish those stories with the credit back to you. So just the reach when you're publishing these stories now can be pulled from all over the country, and that's really how they expand now. The more people share them on social media, the more attention that they'll get, and so then that really brings them to the forefront of the national spotlight from there.
And I imagine that the national groups are always looking for interesting local stuff that they can tie to a national theme of some sort?
That's right. I mean, we always get reached out. We're an NBC affiliate, so NBC News can pull some of our stories too, and they're reaching out every day. What are you working on today? So they're looking for those stories that are local but may have a national interest. Same likewise, we pull stories all the time that may be national from other stations, from our sister stations in Seattle and Idaho that may be of interest to our readers here too. So it's that vice versa, but that's really how stories can go from a small local story to now being something that is talked about nationally because of the power of social media and sharing those stories there.
And when it comes to the print stuff, how important are those headlines?
Those headlines are super important. I mean, they can really make or break your story. It really is how people decide whether or not they're going to click on your story. And the way that social media works now too, we're always scrolling. We're always looking through our feeds. The headline sometimes may be the only thing that someone is reading out of that whole story, and that's how they're sharing that to their friends. So in those stories, in those headlines, it's hard to kind of fit that context sometimes in there too, because you've got character limits that you're hitting too. But it's part of our job to be able to have a headline that's something that is going to grab readers, but also has context and accuracy and facts included in there too and balanced out.
It was super interesting in this one to watch sort of the progression that it started with the local stations here saying, well, it's just these 2 stores, although one of the local stations said closing all the stores in Portland, and then that got picked up to the national, and as it was passed on further, it became closing all the stores in Portland because of this big theft problem.
Right, yeah. Well, when you get a story, there's so many different ways that you can go through that headline. One person may read that and see the elements and the information that comes out, and they approach it one way versus another person might see something different. When we're approaching headlines in our team, we're basically starting with what are the facts? What's the interesting thing that people are going to be looking through? What's the human impact? But then we balance that out with what are the facts, what's the context and nuance that has to be worked into this as well, if that's the only glimpse of the story that people are going to be getting just through that headline on our website or on their feeds.
Thank you, Celeste Ruiz, KGW's digital director, for your time and your insights. That was terrific.
Thanks, Pat.